on that postcard life, the San Miguel haze, but we're the ones navigating the Philippine maze. I'm Jay in a wire barrel, Heidi by my side, no retirement home, just a wilder ride. From the sprawl of Manila to the edge of the sea, we ain't just expats, we're the truth-telling G's. They sold you a dream of a rocking chair and a fan, while we're out here dodging myths with a camera in hand. I'm the logic, the anchor, the calm in the heat. Heidi's the fire making the rhythm complete. If the truth is a crime, then lock up the doors, cause we're coming for the fake, settling the scores. 22 Bonnie and Clyde, now it's George and the Queen, the realest duo that the islands have ever seen. Tell them the truth, babe, just us against the myth, just us against the lies. Underneath the heat of those tropical skies, we're the agitators, the eliminators, the myth breakers, leaving love for the haters. Down to the wire, ride or die, Heidi and George watching the fables die.
We're the Bonnie and Clyde of the YouTube age, writing a brand new chapter on a tropical page. They can call us agitators, call us whatever they want, but the ghost of a perfect life is the only thing we haunt. Can't break this love, I know you can't get enough. I got your back, I got this, you in this life and the next one.
They think we're just another channel, another sunset. Let them think that while we dismantle the fantasy piece by piece.
The cost of living, it's more than pesos. It's the cost of being honest, and we're paying in full. We're the Bonnie and Clyde of the YouTube age, writing a brand new chapter on a tropical page. They can call us agitators, call us whatever they want, but the ghost of the perfect life is the only thing we haunt. Can't break this love, I know you can't get enough. I got your back, I got this, you in this life and the next one.
Yeah, so when the red lights blinking and the mic is live, we the only ones helping the dreamers survive. Not the ones in the brochures, but the ones in the dirt, where the sun meets the struggle and the truth might hurt. With a Bonnie and Clyde of the YouTube age, writing a brand new chapter on a tropical page. They can call us agitators, call us whatever they want, but the ghost of the perfect life is the only thing we haunt. With a Bonnie and Clyde of the YouTube age, writing a brand new chapter on a tropical page. They can call us agitators, call us whatever they want, but the ghost of the perfect life is the only thing we haunt. Can't break this love, I know you can't get enough. I got your back, I got this, you in this life and the next one. I got your back, I got this, you in this life and the next one. I got your back, I got this, you in this life and the next one.
Hey, let me get this out of here.
Is that like Fat Albert? Hey.
Something like that. Hey, look, I got an extra mustache going on there on top of my mustache. See,
Right.
that looks gray. Well, I tried. Yeah, it's okay. That's just a lucky rabbit. Like I said, move the cat, move the... Yeah, good morning, guys. Good morning. Let's see. Well, we went through different topics and still thought we would come back to the medical because of the issue I'm going through. But we just seen this video, and I think this circulated about a month ago, but it just kept referencing it, and we didn't get a good reference until recently. And that is in regards to a Filipino. This has happened time and time again. They'll go to the hospital here in the Philippines, and they get refused. So, of course, this video that we have is very heartbreaking because he's carrying his sick kid and yelling at the guard and stuff. And yes, they will not treat without payment. And that includes expat immigrants, like being on permanent resident. I was just telling George, I still refer to myself as an expat, which I guess technically, but officially immigrant now, right? Because a permanent residency means I've immigrated here.
Yes.
Yeah. So I live here, have permanent resident, and it means I'm here. So it's also, there's another article that we'll go through that we seen today that is based on, guess somebody's loved one was held for 500,000 pesos. They didn't give them the death certificate. So like, you know, like people keep saying, go in the hospital anyways, Heidi, and deal with the bill afterwards, which that would be really rough too. and then they go after George and everything. But they also don't give up death certificates, and that also causes other issues. So there's so much to this. Understand, and people say, "Oh, it's the same all over the Philippines." Like you'll hear people say, "Well, I was able to do this, and they let me do these payments or whatever," and it's like, then maybe you got a break. But in general, this is the same across the Philippines.
I won't get into it right now because we're not going to go into the topic at this very moment unless we are.
No, I was just telling
But
people what we're
A
going to cover
lot of times
today.
there are exceptions to the rule, and unless you figure out that exception to the rule is, and even then, that's only
Well, like they let that one expat in with little to no deposit, but that was a public
the
hospital, and in
keyword
the end,
is again the exception.
right? So he was able to get into a
But
public
even
hospital,
then,
but,
that's only half of the exception.
and we don't even know if they gave up his death certificate or whatever because they owed money and
In,
stuff.
in all
so-
probability, no.
Right. And so this can be a problem for expats because what's going to happen is like at the rate we're going, we'll be wiped out financially. I don't think it'll get to the point where we're on the street situation. But I mean, we were just discussing, we went through almost 52,000 pesos in less than a month. That's still substantial money.
Right,
And we're nowhere close to.
It seems like a lot, but it's not in the grand scheme of things when it comes to medical.
Right. So, but at this rate, it would add up really quick.
Yes.
So, let's see. Where do we go from here? Because I updated people yesterday. If you guys didn't hear, I went to the rheumatologist. He believes I have fibromyalgia based on an exam because there's different levels of pain, and the pain that I'm describing to him is beyond lupus. So he says it sounds like you've also got that. We have to run blood work. The camera's cutting in and out. By the way, the what's it called? It's not on, but I just think the internet's it's Monday. So people who have lupus, there's like a 30% chance that you end up with stuff like that. And also, I have something called APS. They're retesting for it. I've been tested and positive, but they've got to see all the results. So, and so that's not good either because it's considered to have sticky blood that could be clogging my arteries. So, when they prove that all these test positive, which costs another 20 to 30,000 pesos just for the blood test, then they'll know what's causing my clogged, narrowing arteries. They're trying to get the inflammation down. He put me on 2 new meds. They're causing extreme stomach issues. As of last night and this morning, it got worse and then better. And but it seems it's like weird. I felt better, but then felt so. I'm trying to stay positive now that when they get all the testing, they'll have more of an answer. I said, well, what if none of it shows up? Because he said the prednisone over the last couple years, people with lupus go into remission. He goes, but your test is showing it's still active. But he said that could be several things. And so if all of them come back negative, then it's just me and my clunky old heart and me having those donuts, I guess. Might as well admit it is what it is. So, but I doubt it. Not the blood test. He said, and then he asked me a bunch of questions based on the blood work. And it's why they think I have fibromyalgia on top of it. And I said, that would explain a lot. Why I said, I thought I was just being a pussy, man.
You know how you know it's not the diet? It's because not a single doctor have mentioned about the diet. Usually when doctors think it's your diet, they mention like, hey, you might want to cut down on this.
Yeah,
you might want to cut down on that. But guess what? Not a single one.
I already know that, yeah. And yeah, as a matter of fact, he seems to think that with this new med and others coming, that that I will definitely lose what I've gained since the diagnosis a few years back. So he did say that determination on those tests coming through would determine if the stents will hold. Because if these are active and active all the time, and they don't get it under control and keep it under control, then stents could just reclose. That's what they're afraid of. That's possibly why the heart surgeon is jumping straight to open heart surgery. And open heart surgery, according to this doctor too, would be an impossible based on several things in my health condition. So stents would be the only answer to get relief, and those could last for a while. If I take my medication, these could buy me where I outlive George. Yay! Unless you fall down the stairs, or we both fall down the stairs. So I find it to be some good news, but to be told there was something extra on top of it, I was like, "Hey." So I do have an idea what these expats are going through. We appreciate the realness from the people because we're getting a lot of people that are saying, oh, well, there you are, karma's got you, and you've been talking about this, or beg pats, or people, that are, but it's like, okay, it is what it is. And also, it's wasn't caused by me wasting all of our money and drinking and giving it away to a girlfriend. Big difference when they were called beg pats on the street with that other vlogger. So the person tried to address that the other day, and I'm like, no, I appreciate that. Shit happens. We always said, every time we've covered like Mark Thornton and people that have been sick, we said this could happen to me. As a matter of fact, I've got medical issues. So I own up to every bit of it, down to them damn donuts. So, but besides that, so that's what we'll cover today. Answer some questions. Who is in the house? I'm at the bottom of the list here. George, you might want to shout out. I see Slick Rick, Second Wind, Victoria, good morning. We have the time change now. I know you guys are matching on the East Coast 8 to 8. And then I guess it's 7 Central in the U.S., 7, 4 o'clock in California? No, it'd be, it's 4. Yeah, it'd be 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 7 Central.
Well, we're synchronized with EST.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
by 12 hours. Yeah, so finally we got that in there. Good morning, Linda. Tio Chong. Fallen Sinner is in the house first. Yeah, we don't really even hardly recognize the time change because there's not one here. So, yeah. But, yeah. Oh, I forgot the George's signaling for breakfast. Yay, George. Bum, bum, bum. So what is new? Let me know what's going on in your neck of the woods. One other thing we'll cover after this medical thing and talking to you guys about medical is there was another article brought up by somebody about whether they would move back to the U.S. with what's going on globally. And so we'll discuss that if we have time. If not, it'll be on the next live. Depends on how quick we go through this and if we get the professor's speech today or not.
What?
This is up too high. It's like I can't see your neck. Let me see, George.
Huh? We don't.
What? Oh, your glasses, babe. I can't see your beautiful eyes.
Well, actually, I think the clear glasses are making my eyes worse.
Oh, those?
The reason being is, for those of you who don't know, the reason why I wear these glasses a lot is because these are bifocals.
Okay.
The clear ones, they're mono, which means when I look on a distance, I'm looking at the wrong lens.
It is shaking the thing, babe. It is
maybe
because I
guess
did
it
turn
is.
the fan. There was a fan nearby.
Okay, then it's that then.
So then we probably need to use a table. It has been vibrating.
Well, I can move it real quick, yeah. But anyway.
I don't know how bad you guys can see a vibration on your screen or the machine is.
It's
really
noticeable.
irritating. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't say irritating. I said it's noticeable.
Okay. Well, it's probably irritating. So, irritation. Good morning. Just letting some people come in before we start talking about this. I'm trying to today get, not today we'll go, but should be tomorrow. We're trying to get in to see the heart specialist again. They're going to have to increase the water pills for 3 days. My legs have been leaking, and that's not a good sign. So the water, because my heart's not working correctly, is literally coming out of my body on its own. So it means I need to enter the hospital. Me and George have discussed this. It would wipe out every fund we have just to enter. And I just, we're going to try to get another water pill, but hoping the other meds will kick in.
That is somewhat related to the topic today. For those of you who are not aware,
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the video and try to get it to pause. Okay, so let me see if we're able to. There we go. I will. All right, so we'll start this because, like I said, it's when you're self-pay like we have been, and most Filipinos are. They can't afford the insurance. They're not given insurance. They've got PhilHealth, which will pay a percentage. Like as soon as we're ready, we can buy into PhilHealth. If we show them all my documents, they will pay a percentage of this bill. So if it's 40, 50,000, it could be they pay 10. So it's worth it. And I can get some help on the bill because they allowed a couple years ago for expats to get on it. But usually you have to wait, I believe it's 6 months. Okay. You guys will have to go talk to a PhilHealth person. But in an emergency, we found out, according to their site, they could let an expat use it on current, like you have to have an admittance number. You have to go through the channels like you do with insurance. So now some Filipinos have PhilHealth. When they enter hospitals, you got to have a deposit. Even if you have insurance, not all of them will pay up front. Michael Onstad is who I recommend for insurance for expats here. And he'll know the companies that I know there are some here that do pay up front. So, but the others, usually you have to put the money up and get reimbursed later. Medicare is not a thing here. Medicaid, none of those that come from the United States that you're getting through Social Security is actually going to work. Now, I know that if you're only coming here to visit a short period of time and you have a supplement on Medicare, some of them you have to check will cover you for the first few weeks that you're here on certain emergencies. But that's only if you're just staying here like a week or 2, 3 weeks. So you have to check into that. But you have to have the money up front. And this is heartbreaking because this is not uncommon that there are people just sitting in their houses and dying and sick. And it's not like America where they'll just bill you and deal with you later and call you and try to get the money. Here, they won't treat you without the money. And it looks to be a guard is in this video is kind of pushing the person out that's holding a sick or dying child. A lot of people with kidney and heart issues here. It's some of the biggest things that happen with Filipinos. And, for us, we've been paying for self-care things, $100 here, $200 here, meds, all of this until we hit this big one, which came on suddenly in the last few months. And this is, I'm telling you, no matter what channel it is the one thing that'll wipe out savings. A lot of people, have planned well. They've got things going on. They got stuff put away, but the bills can get big really quick. And I have to mention that gentleman, the world's strongest man, his bill was 6 or 7 million for the same procedures they're wanting to do on me. So that's 140,000 US, way cheaper than the US, but that's up to open heart surgery and recovering. And of course, we won't, it looks like that probably won't even be an option anymore. So it can add up really, really quick. And the average expat that is coming here, 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, couldn't afford to hit a $40,000 amount. They usually have that set aside total for everything. So, but let me play this video for you.
Kuya, pasok mo na! Oh, pasok mo na yan!
And this is the other one. So I don't know if you want to comment why I find that one. So what was going
Okay,
on?
just real quick. The one interesting thing I found about this clip is one, whoever took the video recording made sure it was an indistinguishable recording. And I'm not saying it's fake. I'm saying is they made sure they left out or you can't tell which hospital this is. So that's something of note. So that actually adds credibility to it because again, it's kind of like it actually. You have to remember, for instance, now, first off, anybody who would disagree with me, and again, you're allowed to disagree with me, it's fine. However, if you disagree with me on this subject, it tells me you don't know anything about the Philippines. You're not a Filipino, you don't live in the Philippines. Even if you're an expat, you don't live in the Philippines. You don't know shit. What I'm saying is, one, the first thing I notice is there's nobody outside the hospital. If you guys pay attention, I mean, there is obviously, but what I'm saying is the reason why this is significant is because one, if it is a private hospital, this is what you would see, what you see in this video. There's nobody outside the hospital. If it is a public hospital, in all probability, you'll see people loitering around or sitting outside or waiting or a line of people. Because of course, again, you have to remember that public hospitals tend to keep their, they first off, the public is not gonna go en masse to a private hospital. Fact, it doesn't matter what country you're in. Second off, again, it's the fact that the security guard is running off a client or a potential client also is another indication it's a private hospital. Now, the person carrying and the one screaming are two different people. However, they're obviously part of the same group. The woman screaming because it was a male carrying the daughter. The woman screaming says, "You, you're not, a, you're not." Well, I can't quote it because again, I forgot the exact verbiage, but because it's already passed. Um, she says you're not admitting my daughter into your hospital, and that's what she's screaming at him. And the verbiage, rewind it real quick, that way I can read it.
Yeah.
Okay, it says, now keep in mind these are not my words, I'm just translating for you. It says, one of the fruits of corruption in the Philippines. Okay, now which is somewhat kind of maybe, maybe not. Because that's kind of like vague. I mean, it's is it the fruit of corruption that people turn? You have to remember, a lot of times in several countries around the world, this is normal. So
Yeah,
okay,
for having to pay up.
and then
front.
on the bottom it says. It's really sad that many who cannot afford healthcare are turned away. That's what he says on the bottom. So again, these are not my words. I'm just translating for you. Now again, see how the guard is standing right there in the entrance, and there's nobody standing there at all.
Yeah.
And mind you, there's no jeeps, no nothing. There's no public
No,
cars.
that's definitely. It's probably just
So
a
yeah, this
nearby
is in all
hospital.
probability it's a private hospital. The reason why this is significant is because one, a private hospital in the Philippines, yeah, if you don't have money, they're not going to take you in. I mean,
Well, what's his name? The Australian went to the public one, and he still needed the money, babe.
that
So
was
it
the next.
doesn't.
That's the next side of the
They'll at
coin.
least take you
Correct.
in with not much of a
Okay.
fuss with the.
Take you in is a very loosely term. Now,
Yeah,
private hospital.
loose like George.
If it's a private hospital and you're expat in the Philippines, Don't bother going to the private hospital unless you have the money for healthcare. Anybody who disagrees, and obviously you don't live in the Philippines, you don't know shit about the Philippines, shut STUFU. You don't know shit. Trust me. If you're dying, go into a private hospital and you don't have the money, trust me, you're gonna expire right there in the parking lot.
Yeah, and here's the thing. They'll let us in for exactly the money we have. The problem is when we end up with a $4 million bill and they don't, because you don't want to keep refusing treatment. Like we talked about our Philippine journey, great channel, that discussed a gentleman that had a blister on his foot. I feel he possibly had diabetes from the way it was going. But in a case like this, the guy ignored a cut on his foot from his new shoes, allegedly. He waited, delayed, had an infection, didn't take care of it well, went in, lost one toe. I believe he lost a second. Then they amputated the top of his foot. Then he lost the entire leg. And this is him in and out of the hospital. They needed to find blood because sometimes they don't have it. Minimally, I heard people say, well, really, it's not that they don't have blood here in the Philippines. It's because they have to replace what they take out of the hospital. Okay, well, it's the same. You still got to replace it. They're not going to use it. Like they had to wait. And we've seen people request blood here in Angel City for surgeries. There's been several. And I was like,
And you will probably need a runner still.
No, they needed a runner to get the blood. So you're going to need these runners. There's a lot of things to the medical that people don't understand. And the situation of can or will they, I don't know what's involved in signing a promise note here, but don't you have to put up something substantial?
We're gonna go into the next side of this coin. Now keep in mind, first off, there's some expats that say, "Oh no, they'll let you in." Yeah, it depends.
There's no debtor's prison. They can't come after you.
It's one thing. Okay, first off, okay.
Yeah,
you
you're
guys have to
you're an expat.
remember versus some critical care in urgent care. What I'm saying, urgent care, like for example, urgent care, you're gonna lose your limb right now, and it's to be sewn, blah blah blah, done, boom, zip zap, done, and then you owe money. Versus critical care that you're gonna need care for as long as they keep you alive. Those are two different things. What I'm getting at is a lot of expats are,
And every area
they'll,
will vary.
they'll let you go out of the hospital. Well, no, there's a difference because one, first off, do you have enough money to cover the? Okay, I put this air quotes because remember, deposit is not a real good term for this. A down payment, I guess, would be a better term. For example,
Should be
if
4 in California, Rick.
right. So what I'm saying is, for example, if by chance that, let's say you cut your finger and they sewed it on and whatever,
Yeah.
that's different from Heidi's case. So what I'm saying is,
when he went in the first time, yeah, he couldn't get the money. They held him 4 extra days on the very first trip, and it was an emergency. His foot turned gangrene. So they still made him stay until he got the money.
no, I know that.
Okay,
I
sorry.
know that.
Sorry, I
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
What I'm saying is,
More
okay.
coffee.
Let me finish.
I'm trying.
Even that's a good point though. For example, what I'm saying is Heidi's condition or ongoing condition or anything that may extend are two different things. What I'm saying is, for example, the reason why I said
It's an emergency, but
let's
not
say
an emergency.
a cut thing and they sewn your finger in again.
And you might bleed out and die on the spot.
Well, what I'm saying is it's already done. It's finished. They already have a set price. That's what I was getting at. Once they determine the price and the price is the end, it's different because now they have, okay, this is how much they owe. They need to have at least a deposit of, depending on whoever's director at that point in time and or whoever your social worker. Well, I say social worker because you are assigned a social worker at that point in time, is how they negotiate for you. What I'm saying is they're gonna say, okay, you need 50% or 75% for you to get out of the hospital, and then they go after you. Get it? Versus, for example, Heidi's case or anybody's ongoing case, They'd be like, well, let's analyze everything, shall we? And how much we've spent already. You have to remember, money moves everything. And what I'm getting at is if someone says, oh, no, they let you go, this, so they let you go to an ATM, this. Yeah, if it's within reason in their eyes, not within reason for you. Keep that in mind. They're not think you are a business model. You are not a person. You are a business model. You are a client. That's how they look at you. And again, I'm not being mean. I'm not saying any particular hospital here. That's how it is. I mean, hospitals are a business. Okay.
I'm about
Now, um, it's not like the U.S. Like the U.S. Like for example, when I had my unfortunate incident, they let me out, no questions asked. But guess what? I owed money. They sent me bills. Some philanthropist swooped in and said, "Hey, George, you know what? Let me pay your bill. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it."
aka another girlfriend.
You know what I'm saying? So that doesn't happen here in the Philippines. That's what I'm just saying. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
We don't even have an opportunity to not pay the bill.
Correct. You don't have a
It's
choice
like
in.
debt collector. What?
Now, what I'm getting at is, let's say, for instance, you went into a public hospital and you're meeting medical care. You're gonna wait in line.
Oh, Lord.
You're gonna sit there and wait like that. Well, I'm not even gonna mention a particular gentleman here, but point being, every expat you
Binary.
see, guess what? They'll be sitting outside, waiting on
Hey,
some
Mark.
plastic bench. They're like half dead, waiting for help.
Now, it happens. You'll see a lot of sick Filipinos. I just seen an elderly couple. Both of them are down and out, like both sick, but they're not going to go to the hospital. And I think that's why so many Filipinos and expats here have delayed in getting any care.
Correct.
Sounds like this guy that was in Angel City that Mike covered probably did the exact same thing, although he appears to have way more money than us because he's got a 401k he didn't transfer. He's got at least he said 3,000 a month coming in, and he evidently didn't have much savings because he had to borrow the money to actually get out the first time, but he had something going on, plus he was always going back to the United States and everything, but the guy still couldn't pay. But I think he delayed in his own health care. If he would have went in and fully let him treat, and he took the antibiotics the first time, put the creams and the iodine and kept it clean, he wouldn't have lost the other part of the foot, unless, as me, there's underlying conditions. Mine's gotten so complicated because I have lupus, I have APS, which means my body's infecting itself, my body's attacking itself. If we don't get rid of this, which doesn't go away, it'll still stay here. They got to know how to treat my heart now. Now that they know this exists, now they know what to do. But like, either, I hate to say it, he either had diabetes and like his foot couldn't be cured because it's hard to heal. Like right now, they're afraid if they do open heart surgery on me, I'm just not even going to heal from it because of the lupus and the other things and the inflammation. So this guy did not take care. A lot of expats that come here stop medications, they do all their things, they party, they go out with their women, they get married, they have babies, and they put themselves last, like they always do, even in America or Canada or Britain. They put their lives there. Did I do some sort of delaying? We have people that keep saying that I shouldn't have came with any health conditions. I don't think that. I mean, there are people, believe it or not, with way worse situations going on. They arrive having strokes and cancer and all these other things, and they may never even need to go to the doctors. But that's not going to stop them. It didn't stop me. Things were not at a critical point when we arrived. I've been here almost, 5.5 years. We've been on the road for over 6 or something. And it's like, there was no signs up to just recently, sick here and there with the lupus. Like the doctor said, it lays in remission where there was times I had good days and stuff where we're out and about and doing things. And just recently, something seriously went wrong with my heart. So it went down quick. So sorry to cut in on you. I'm saying that these expats are not taking care. They end up finding them dead in their hotels. A lot of them in Cebu. they'll just find them there. They've been there for days, no AC on, no nothing. They're pouring them babies in a bag when they take them out of there. But it's happening. They're taking medical last here. And the thing is unless you get into some heavy duty test or like as sick as I am, basically to go see a physician and get antibiotics or your basic meds is really cheap. You're talking $15 to $20, where God, that would not be that in the US. That's a copay if you have good insurance in America. So it's mostly everything's affordable unless you get like, like I am now. It's going to be 600-700 just for one blood test. And then the one test was a couple hundred, and they won't even do the one to determine how bad my heart is, the final one, until to see how far the blockage is, and even if stents are possible with their with the new stuff they know. So that test is probably 1,000 to 1,500, and soon as they do that, like literally on the table in the cath lab, they got to be ready. So it's like there's no reason, because if they say, okay, this is going on, 1,500 is right out the door. Because if I wait a year later or 6 months later, which I don't have, to actually get the money to do this, there's no reason to start the fifth. There's no reason to do this test or until, and I also have to wait till I'm better. So, anyways, those are the things that are costing money and running. Us expats and Filipinos, they can't afford. I don't even know how they afford any blood work. The first set that I had was a couple thousand pesos. The next one was 9,000. And now this one could be up to 30. It might even be more. We're still waiting. We're trying to see at the heart doctor if we're just going to let them do that tomorrow. And then, of course, it's going to come out of the funds.
Well, let's analyze that again just real quick. On the cheap end, keyword cheap end. I'm not joking. This
I'm just gonna
is.
take this down. We'll talk about that article. It's just
Let's talk about on the cheap end. Literally, the the latest test that Heidi is required to do
it's 400 to
is
600.
okay. It's 20,000 minimally. That's the cheapest on the cheapest end. Okay, on the cheapest end, it's 20,000. Okay, so that's like $350 on the test. What I'm saying is that's out of your pocket. What I'm getting at is like this is all related again. It's Raymond says it's my understanding if you're an expat, they will put you in a private room. Is that correct? Closest hospital to me is St. Luke's Medical Center and Makati Medical. Yes and no. And here's remember I said at the start of the video or live, as it were, I said there are exceptions to that rule, and you know what that exception is? The only edge you have versus any Filipino is you're a foreigner. And the reason why that's an edge is because
Usually we have
foreigners are seen as possessing money. And what I'm getting at, you have a probability of being admitted, a higher probability of being admitted because not not necessarily being a foreigner. What the key word here is the appearance of having money. You can be a Filipino. You can be a foreigner, doesn't matter what country you're from, what race you are. If you appear to have money, you have a high probability of being admitted. Keyword is if you appear to have money. Now, if you're a foreigner and you look like you came from the street, they're probably not going to admit you. You get the difference. I'm not saying because you're a foreigner, it's an automatic admission. What I'm saying is the perception of money, of possession of money, will get you admitted, and that's what the clarification. The same reason I'm answering Raymond's question is you get a private room. Again, if you look like a bum that came from the street as a foreigner, you probably won't get a private room. That's what I was getting at. It's the perception of money, and that's what I was getting at, and that's the edge that I said, or exceptions to the rule that I mentioned earlier, that could get you admitted. Now, how you present yourself, how you look, how you behave. Remember, behavior is everything too. Could mean the difference between being admitted or not admitted. Now, getting your foot in the door is a different story of paying the bill and getting out of there. Now you're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, if you're dressed in an Americana and you're sick, Americana cocktail dress or cocktail suit or an American suit. That's what I mean. If you're wearing an nice press American suit and you came in to get admitted, odds are they'll admit you. But getting out of there, you're on your own. You get the
Well, that's
picture?
just it. But most people I keep hearing, they're trying to get that deposit within the day. They'll let you in, you'll get stabilized. The whole point is that self pay is okay for a while. So if you're coming here, I highly recommend that you're doing your medicines, you're, seeing somebody if you have any issues and you live by a hospital. And then you're going to need the deposits, you're going to need, these things. And where I've been caught is we thought I could make it home if anything ever happened. That was the biggest plan we had was to go back home. Let's say for the knee surgery or something that was minor but really needed because the pain's getting bad, or something like that. I didn't think my heart would go out like this, which has become critical. The pulmonary specialist, I'm on 16 hours of air, and they got me on a bunch of new meds based on the lupus doctor and based on saying I have fibromyalgia on top of that. And they were talking about a fourth specialist. So I said, "Whoa, hold the phone." I told George I was getting all my anxiety kicked in the hallway. I said, "I'm done." I said, "They are not sending me to another person." I said, I'm done." So you got to also watch this because in America with insurance, they kind of don't treat without the referrals, and they'll
Kid.
give the referrals out and run the insurance up.
No, that's a lot.
Here, when you're paying, even if it is $20, they're only giving me a 30-day script. So I told George, I said, I hope to God they're not expecting me to go back to four different people, three or four people, to get these meds every month and sit there the way we did. And here's the thing, like in America or other countries, when you see a doctor like mine, you'll get 6 months worth or something, and they just send it over digitally, the pharmacies. It wasn't even for years getting piece of paper. They send it over. No, here everything's manual. I mean, I've seen some file cabinet in this room, but neither of these specialists had a computer. The heart doctor does, and this is modern operation. So my deal is that I hope to God every area is going to be a little different, every clinic, every hospital, and this is a private hospital. I'm not going back every month. I'm sorry, I have my limits. I'm I'm barely making it to these appointments, and so I can't imagine going to that many appointments every month just to have scripts redone. The problem is that on some of them, of course, it's going to need the occasional blood work and all of this because of the balance. So this is where it adds up, people. And for those that are able to get back, like this guy I said, when he lost his first toe, he had that ability. He wasn't going to get a blood clot or stop breathing, which is not my biggest problem, okay? Because people are like, oh, there's oxygen on the planes. Go with an airplane that'll give it to you for free, which is new to me. But that doesn't solve all my issues. I still can't make it from one area to the other. And the wheelchair is not going to help that. And the pain level and sitting upright and not being able to lay down. No way I'm going to sit at an airport for 6 hours, as sick as I am. Traveling is not an option, but this guy had an option before he lost his leg. And so several amputations would have scared the shit out of me. That'd have been a fair warning, babe. He could have gotten back. And so, yes, that's another lesson is that if you can, if I was laying it on my lupus that I just had another flu, because you guys have seen me on and off where I say, oh, it feels like I got a flu. No, it was my heart going out, and, that's on me that I should have went. But they probably would have wrote it off to a cold too if we just would have went to the regular physician. But you still have to check, guys.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, if the physician's inadequate, then they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Ronald Holland says, "Good morning, guys. Good to see you both. I guess my messages aren't going. No, they are. There's a lag. I just saw your messages, so there's a lag going through.
Yeah, I haven't scrolled through.
One
Yeah.
goes through. So sick of YouTube's. No, again, Honestly,
certain
it's
words.
YouTube because we're not even messing with the messages right now. So yes.
Because here's the thing: if it was held by us or YouTube wasn't grabbing them, we would see it. Our streaming software would show it to us. And I'm going down the line here. Um, oh, did I put that up already? Sorry. Raymond said, "Stay positive, ignore the trolls." Yeah, they're not a big deal. We just everything's all good. We're just talking about regular commenters, and we appreciate people being real on leaving things. I did not hear. I don't know where that came from. Eggs for breakfast. Did you hear what happened to Carrie? She kept the donations for herself. She's not really helping. Um, it is a different level. And really, that's sad. We've talked about it in the past that we know that her and that other guy were collecting, and it seems to be specific expats that she's helping. And it's hard saying there's no accountability for that fully. So, yeah.
Okay, now Cindy G made a good point, and this is actually
Yes.
an interesting statement, and I say interesting because there's an interesting response.
Oh,
Um,
go ahead. Go ahead. I'll answer you in a minute, Salt.
well, just answer that real quick. That's a quick
Okay,
answer.
he was here. He used to be a long time ago. I'd probably say he's in his 60s or something. He was the world's strongest man. He would help give out food to the homeless kids, and he's here in this area. Yes, it could cost that much. We were already told that if I can withstand, which is a big if, the open heart surgery, which we're at a 50-50, that's what I'm going to need anyways. He said yes, it could run 6-7 million with the recovery. That was
7 million,
clearly
yes.
stated. Yeah. So initially we had some complaints from AKA the trolls saying that we keep changing our page. Well, after we talked to Mike, we were initially thinking we needed 80,000 to cover it, and Mike said no, it's going to be way more than that. So then we changed it to what we needed as a deposit to get me in and take care of stents and all that and get me healed. And then that's when we've initially brought it back down to 40,000 right now. Now Mike confirmed that it could cost the 6 or 7 million pesos, and then the doctors have too. He said easily that's what you're looking at, especially with me and the lupus. And at that time, we didn't tell Mike about the APS, the sticky blood. That could be what's clogging everything right now. I can't donate plasma. When I've had the last few surgeries, they told me that they had to start me on blood thinners. Basically, I need to be on blood thinners. And that's another complication in itself. So, and other medication. And they've got to, in this test, we got to pay for another test in 12 weeks because they'll see it's positive. It's in my American charts, but they've got to test themselves here. Like my lupus, I knew it would be expensive, and they know I have the symptoms, and the blood work shows that I've got those markers, but they've still got to see that lupus test go positive so they know what they're doing. It's, I understand why that. So, but yes, it could be, yes, that is a real amount here. But if you think about it, that is a full 6-7 hour open heart surgery and me being treated, the aftercare and everything for 140,000 US. Again, they don't think I'll survive it, and if I have another 6 months here without it, I think I'd rather do that than end up with an infection and the recovery time. So this is why I'm praying so hard that we can do the stents now that they know what they're treating. And I just started 2 new medications 2 days ago. I feel slightly better right now. I think my face looks less swollen today. What do you think?
It does.
Yeah, just a little bit. I know it still looks, but I don't feel. But yeah. So that's it. So yeah, go ahead, George. Sorry.
Yeah, now Cindy G says, now this is again a valid question, and it's actually deeper than a lot of people realize. How do regular professional Filipinos afford those medical meds and other costs for their own health, that of their parents and relatives? Okay, first off, let's go touch the surface, meaning let's go superficial here, the easiest one. When we were at AU, it's really rare to see a crappy car.
No, the Filipinos somehow,
Yeah,
some way, even like in our neighborhood, you got professionals that have new cars, but if you see the neighborhood, you guys be like, what?
no,
So
no,
it's,
yeah,
you
and
can't match that
we're
anymore.
we're not even talking about the cheap Teslas. We're talking about the expensive Teslas. We were
There
even
were
talking about
Teslas. There were two
we're even
Teslas
talking
over at the
about cyber
hospital.
trucks here. No,
Teslas, nice ones
no.
up at this hospital.
There's a lot of Filipinos that have money. Trust me. If you're an expat, you're a minority when it comes to money. I'm not even making that up. It's
You
not.
would think with
Yeah,
60% of the country in some sort of, decline on income, that other percentage makes up for the
yeah.
money being
Trust me.
spent.
Any real expat who lives here will tell you you feel out of place because you feel like you're surrounded by money and you're like, oh my god, I'm poor.
Okay, so in the hospital, that whole hallway was filled. We know some do have Phil Health, but that's only paying part of their bills. But that whole place was filled. There were clinics for LASIK eye surgery in there. That clinic was full, and I'm like, who's got that money here?
I don't know. We saw
And
two people with
then
Trader Joe bags.
Trader Joe. And then that restaurant that we went to, it's not the cheapest, it's not the most expensive. I had not eaten, and we got some salmon there. That whole restaurant was full of people drinking and eating croissants, and I'm like, who are these people? And it's not that you don't expect. It's just it's got to be, where there's money going around. But who, for the most part, I see where she's coming from because for the most part a good fraction, more than 50%, no, they don't get to take care of their people. That's the sad part. They're not. So it just means that if they have to take care of their mom and dad, they do the basics, some maintenance, some aspirin, some herb, a Hmong healer. So I mean, that is the reality, and most expats fall into that line. The ones that we've covered about being homeless and sick, there was a guy that needed a kidney. There's quite a few of the homeless that are actually sick out there, and yeah, so it's really really sad. So
Right. Now, the other one that a lot of expats don't see, okay? This is the part that you guys don't see. And obviously, expats won't experience because this is not, does not involve expats. And when I say that is, okay, he said, how do professionals deal with it? There's some form of professional courtesy, and there's some form of professional scratch your back, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Again, this is stuff again that I say that you don't know shit. And I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about these expats who claim, oh yeah, this. No, you don't know shit. You don't know what you're talking about. You're googling shit. This is shit that doesn't exist on Google. And what I mean by that is, for example, there is professional courtesy. For example, if you're,
thank you,
oh, thank you
Ronald.
so much, Ronald. So, for example, if you're part of the medical profession, and they can see that, they will admit you because you are part of their community, and they will take care of you as a professional courtesy. That's something, guys. You guys can Google this all you want. I'm pretty sure this doesn't exist on Google. Now, on the same note, for example, if you're some well-known lawyer, same thing. They'll allow you, tit for tat. Hey, I'll help you. I'll help. You owe me. Maybe one day I'll need some medical, some representation, or maybe someday, I'll need your medical expertise. That kind of deal. There's some form of medical, professional tit for tat, aka that,
Chicken for teeth cleaning.
something like that. So, for example, yeah, but of course, there's limits to this professional courtesy and professional tit for tat too. For example, of course, the surgeon, because like, you know what, I can, I can not charge you for this much, but this other
No,
stuff
they
I have to charge you because guess what? That's beyond my power.
right.
You guys have to
Well, I'll
remember.
give you an idea when that British or when the Australian guy went in and he needed his hip fixed. He went to a private hospital. There's always a chance that if you arrive at a private hospital, which you got to understand where you're going if you end up in a private hospital, they were willing to do the surgery for free. He gave his time. So again, that doesn't happen everywhere. I can't expect them at AU to say, "Hey, fellas, do you mind if I let you touch my hair and stroke it a few times that you'll give me free surgery?" Say you touched a white woman's hair or something. Anyways, I'm just making jokes. They could give up their time because maybe I'm some sort of anomaly. They get to practice on me or something. Who knows? Something different. I don't know. But they offered to do it for free. So they even gave him a discount and offered that, but he still had to come up with the
No, you
money for the
still have
ball
to
joints, for his hip.
pay for
And that was still
for
the
the
money
equipment, for
that
the
he was trying.
medicine. It's
Right.
kind of like this.
There's
It's
still a minimal,
Right.
even if they agree.
Now, a good example of this, and a lot of people don't realize, and again, for those of you, those ones that don't live in the Philippines and Google shit.
And
For example, when you get admitted to a public hospital, the services are technically free. I said technically because I'm pretty sure there's some services that are not. However, the medicine is free, and I put air quotes on that because if available, if it's not available, then it's out of pocket, your pocket. So, for example, I had a tetanus shot. The services are free. However, I had to pay for the actual medicine. Get it?
Right. Remember when we were checking into me going to a public hospital, besides me freaking out, there was no air conditioning. Didn't they say that they would only stabilize me? They wouldn't go through a bunch of stuff and then determine. In other words, I'd have to go in with an actual heart attack
Oh
for them
yeah,
to actually do an open
And
heart
even
surgery
then,
or
it's not free.
stents. And if I did that now and showed up, if I'm having a heart attack, they'd have to bring down all the inflammation before they would do any of it. So they would just hold me in an ICU, whatever's available. And there is a big heart doctor clinic place that exists in Manila, but that's an hour or more drive. So there are some things that exist. But what I wanted to say also is I've been to other countries, Egypt and is it South America, Mexico, Cozumel's Mexico. Sorry, Belize is what I meant to say. Um, and I've been to other areas that are what's considered, I'm just going to say it, third world. Same thing exists. You show up in Mexico, it's the same thing. You show up in Egypt, it's the same thing. So a lot of people, I know it was mentioned about corruption and everything and the different things going on. It's just a poor healthcare system. But hell, the U.S. has got that going on right now. There's a lot going on with the healthcare system in America. There are working people, and there are people that are in mid treatment with cancer, and now they've canceled a bunch of insurance. All these different things are happening. So it's like there's a lot to consider. That's all. Don't be shocked, don't be surprised, and I'm sure this won't stop people from coming. I'm sure. Um, and cash is king. It 100% it will be. But like trying to have a plan, like what's going on with us now, we have to figure things in a balance. Now that I'm seeing the specialist, now I'm on new medications. It'll help me tolerate my time until I actually can get done what needs to be done, if it can even be done. I was thinking about jumping and again having that. I don't want to say colonoscopy. The basically they'll run a camera to my heart. I can't. My mind's been blank here late. It's got to be medicine and my heart issues. Once they take those photos, like I said, they're supposed to be ready to actually take care of putting stents in or doing something because they don't want to keep running the dye in there. But I told George, I said, if we can't get the funds and we know I'm just trying to be comfortable until my last day, I would like to know what's going on and maybe how long. So, but then it's like, I can't even do that until I get all this inflammation, like whatever's going on with the APS, whatever's going on with the lupus and everything, the fibromyalgia. We can't do no testing, no surgery, no stents, not even a consideration if we got a one donor situation where somebody says, hey, I'm going to give you the money. If that comes up to be a miracle, I still can't do it anytime soon. So we're still looking at 60 days, maybe. 90. If you go into the emergency room, go through ICU, they can bring it down in about a week, maybe. That's just going to add more to the bill. So I don't think we'll have the money. So what I'm saying is that you have to figure how you're going to do your health care. And right now, they're not exactly coordinating. Every time I go to the specialist, they don't have anything. They don't have a chart to look at. They've only got x-rays and for me to re-explain. They have no central access like when I go to the same hospital. They're all there, but they're not accessing each other's records, which is kind of, they just don't have anything. So they're not communicating. And now the reason I have to go back to the heart doctor is they want to start a blood thinner. And he said, don't start that. You definitely got to go back and talk to him. And now that we have all this new information and he didn't know about the APS, now we got to go explain that to him. And he's going to say, yeah, it's not your cholesterol. It's this causing it. And so that changes the game for him. So
It's like back then. It's like the 70s,
to me, it is.
where you
Yeah.
bring your records to doctor.
Oh, and if I didn't tell you guys, what was crazier? And I don't think I did even say this yesterday. They wanted me to go into AUF the day before to put my name on a list to see the doctor the next day. And she made an appointment over the phone because I told her that's an impossible. There's no way I can make it 2 days in a row, And she's like, so they made the appointment. It was very nice of her, but didn't she say it's the next appointment? We still have to come in the day before.
2 days.
Call 2 days in advance or
2
sign
days
up?
in advance.
Call or sign up
Well,
on the
she
paper?
didn't say. She
Right,
says
so
make
we-
the appointment 2 days.
Okay, so hopefully we don't, but maybe it's the first appointment. So I can't imagine having to get on a jeepney and be sick and show up and go all that distance and just to sign your name on a piece of paper. And people say it's primitive, but there must be some sort of system going on or something. I don't know. There's a lot that you guys have to, get used to. Yeah, there was yeah, there's Michael. Yeah, or a good insurance policy that pays up front. Yeah, I'm supposed to get a hold of him, and we haven't even thought with Michael. We're supposed to talk to him. Yeah, Michael would know all of that stuff and the policies and stuff. So, good morning, Michael. When I went to a public hospital ER, they didn't talk money at all. They treated me, and I was lucky to have neighbors with me to run and get the medicines and cream. He said then, maybe because he was an expat. Because when Brian and them went, they said they asked for that deposit right away.
Well, that's
second win.
yeah. No, I know. There's again there's exceptions
But you
and
paid, but you paid
it
before
depends.
you left, I'm sure.
Well, and again also, well, there's a chance he may not have. Again, it varies in per situation. Yeah, I did say that again. Like for example, like for the most part, technically, and I say technically, you're not supposed to pay anything, but in a realistic world, normally you pay for medicine if it's not available, and that's what usually happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a perfect world. Well, that is true, but a lot of people it comes after the fact. I only had a few when I left, and they were not like that. There shouldn't have been any issues. So, and unfortunately, you're talking about retirees that are mostly coming here. The younger generation that's coming here on quick vacation, they're leaving. The ones that are coming here long term, when they get married, a lot of these guys are in their
Well, the ones that come here to
40s,
retire,
30s.
his key word is retire.
With health issues. And I'm sorry, you can eat healthy, you can do all of that. There's no rhyme or reason for, saying only a healthy diet will keep you from this. There are people that drink, smoke, eat nothing but meats and carbs, and they live forever. And then there's the ones that do diet, exercise, and then they end up with heart attacks. So it's kind of a all over the place. Sorry, if you guys see me delay, the internet keeps cutting in and out, even here in the big city. But no, they don't. Now, I do feel if I'd have had a stroke and a heart attack, and there are people here that have had major heart surgery and then come on over, that have had major medical, they arrive anyways. And actually, that's on them to understand that. That's for sure. But there's always something going on. You just don't want to. I mean, I don't get the ones that like have that much going on and then they arrive.
Yeah, like it says, when my mom was confined in to the hospital, we had to buy our meds outside because it's more expensive to buy inside the hospital. Price of meds changes depending on what room you are, ward, private, or ICU. No, no, it changes. And again, now keyword here is if she was alone, she's kind of screwed in. I'm not talking about her in particular. What I'm saying is you need a runner.
Yeah.
You need somebody to go get your medicine, to get your food. Well, you don't have to go have somebody go get your food unless you're in the ward itself.
You
Oh,
guys have seen a
yeah.
ward. It's basically one open room.
Yeah, if you're
It's
in a ward, you definitely need a runner. The end. But if
just
you're in a
one open
private room, you
with
still need a
20
runner.
people or something
The only difference
or
is
more.
in a private room, you will have room service as far as food is concerned. That you guys probably won't eat that food. Just saying, but you guys get the picture. You still need a runner.
Yeah. What medical insurance available? There's a bunch of them. There's Michael Onstad on Facebook. His information should be in the description of these videos that we have. And there's all kinds of them. But he will definitely get you the best price, and he's helped a lot of expats. And we don't get commissions or do any of that. We just know that he's good. That's why you'll see him with a lot of expats that knows that he does his deal. So um, let's see. Hey, Lucka, what is going on? And traveler's insurance I had for a while. Just when I went to go get a regular policy, down the road, it didn't work. So, yeah, that I would recommend because a lot of them you can get without a lot of questions and stuff, and not any issues. So, yeah, at least have that for a while, but you can't keep it forever if you're living here permanent. Okay, G&H and Antic Creeps. I'm off to bed again, 1:30. See you later. You're still in the house. Yeah, I think you dropped out. Yeah, it's one day at a time, right? And people may come here and nothing may happen, even with people with medical conditions. It's not like every expat that's old and sick, something happens. Sometimes they're maintenance with medicine. Only you guys would know, like, the risk. And I was reading that there was an article that I may just cover on another day about whether people would leave here or not if something started going down, and down with the stuff going on in the Middle East. And most of them said they'd stay here because they said what I initially said is that we've already moved our life here. People don't realize it's not like moving from one town or another in America. You went from Tampa to Sarasota. It's not the same. It's really life changing financially and emotionally, and the readjustment. And then people have, like I'm married, I've been living here, I've got my pets. Like somebody said, they won't leave their pets. So there's like a whole broad range of why people still come here anyways, no matter what. Like I said, I don't think I had a risk like Mark Thornton where he actually had just had triple bypass or something, literally. And some of those are serious. I wasn't dealing with that when I left. So there's a lot. So there's a lot to actually consider when coming here.
Yeah, yeah.
Public hospital is no bueno. Even with private, you need to check them out first. Yeah, you got to check some of the private hospitals.
Yeah, some are better than others.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, which some people feel something's better than nothing, but you really should consider. Yes. Yeah, you were gonna say something. I'm just reading through these now.
Right. For instance, like well, I can't give you the name of the hospital, but there's a hospital here that the name is kind of like a joke. Where they say basically you put their name in front of the sentence that ends in or you'll expire first. Point being, it's the joke that basically means that if you take somebody there, they're gonna go. That's because, for example, here's an example, and this is personal knowledge. Um, my uncle had a car accident, and it wasn't his fault. He was riding a bicycle, and a car hit him, and they had to take him to the hospital because it's the nearest hospital. Bandages and medication. Guess what? The runner had to go get him.
Huh.
It's like, wait, what? The bandages and the medication, the runner had to go get them.
Was that private or public?
Well, it was public, but it's still a hospital, isn't it?
Right, it's a nearby hospital.
Bandages? I mean, bandages? Come on, give me a break. I get the medication part, but bandages?
You would think that was like 1950 or something. That I could see if it was the 50s or something.
Yeah, that's why I'm
But
not saying the
now
name,
in a
because
modern,
I'm not trying to. It's not nothing personal against the hospital. Point being is,
and
it's like,
sometimes it's the
right,
it's
it can go,
nearby,
it can
so
go that
that's why
bad, it
they're
can
there.
go that far, and that's what I mean. And no,
So and you may not have a choice per, like I said, there's an
yeah,
accident
if
or
it's
something. They're
if
just
it's the
going to go
closest
near.
one, of course it's in human instinct. And remember, he was alone. What I'm saying is, there was no runner because he was alone. The fact that some stranger, a tricycle guy, brought him to a hospital, you have to be grateful for that alone. You get it? But what I'm saying is, what if nobody even bothered?
Yeah.
You know,
Cindy said, "Oh, 4 specialists are too much." You know what? I started panicking with George. I was like, "You know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm not seeing anybody else. I'm just riding this out, and I'm going to get 4 specialists: some Jack Daniels, some donuts, some pizza, and a bunch of comedy shows, and watch that. And I'm just going to ride this out." I said, "I will not be pushed around all these specialists, and there will be a limit." And another good and bad thing is you have control of some of your health decisions. A lot of them are like, when you're in America, it's like, oh, well, we can't do this test to determine how sick. You know how they play insurance games, whether you got Medicare, Medicaid, supplements, good insurance, bad insurances. I had Aetna for years with some of my other bigger jobs, and there was a big play in getting approvals, and you can't go do this without that unless it was a total emergency. Like when I had my gallbladder out, there was no delays. They just put you in there and do the surgeries and stuff. They still had to get authorizations, but my whole deal is that you also got to be careful, like this guy that Mike talked about. If they're in the hospital at that point, he delayed and denied services because he couldn't afford them. So it was on the bad end. You see what I mean? But on the other hand, if that bitch is trying to take blood from me again to check something, like Mike said, I get low sugar, but I'm not diabetic. He says they're going to check you anyways because they figure it's part of the heart issue. So they're going to keep testing your sugar levels. They'll charge you out the ass for that. So he says if you bring the kit and show them where you're at, then they're not going to keep charging you for that. So you have some control on some of it. But a little different than the insurance thing. So, like, yeah, I'm not going to keep letting them, the new blood work is only 2 weeks. Now, I get that if they need to do some other emergency in this, they may need something, or like the lupus, the thyroid, the APS, and all this are the most expensive tests that can be done. We have to. Because if one of them's not active in this, they'll know which one's causing the heart issues. Which I'm like, oh, good. Once they know that, then is it, really the other things? Will this help reverse what's going on? No, damage is done. So we still have to fix what's going on, but a lot to process, guys. Yeah. And of course comes all the side effects of the medication. Woo-wee.
no,
Always fun.
Yeah, no,
I was really
of course.
sick last night.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I don't know about taking this much longer, but I made it through another night of taking it. Let's see. Hey, Ronald is saying hi. One goes through so sick of YouTube sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, I can see you here, but you're not seeing him further down at 840. So if he's missing on there and I'm seeing it here,
No, I think it's a
then
lag because everybody can see him, but I think there was a lag.
yeah, so we can see you. So there's something going on. Whenever I got an estimate in the Philippines, everything was more expensive. Yeah, and you can. So here's the thing. Once we have X amount for what's going on and we can get the funds, then we can sit down with Phil Health and then they could give authorization codes and say, hey, she needs this done now. And then they'll pay a percentage, 10, 20% or whatever it is. And then the other part, once we know and have the funds, because you got to be ready to enter, is let's see, it's the authorization and oh god, I already forgot what the other part is. So we can get authorization from them to get in, and then we have to get the test. I lost my train of thought. It's been like that here lately. What is it we have to go through? So we can get Phil Health to get a discount on that. And because we've been talking this in a circle
Well,
with the specialist, and
but
then
that's a different animal altogether.
yeah, I forgot where I was going with. Oh, sorry. I just looked at this. This is why I brought this up. We're allowed to sit down with them and there's packages. That's another reason he said don't get that test yet. Because if we pay 1,500 US dollars to put the camera in there and look at what's wrong, he said they can include that and the stents and entering the hospital under one packaged amount. That's why another reason because we're just going to be doubling up on money, and that's like between 60 and 80,000 pesos. So yeah, so that's what I was trying to say is that there is package deals that will avoid some of the costs, but it's kind of that also has to be set up. So and we still have a chance to do that. So yeah,
Yeah, Victoria says the
but it
amount
can
of
be. Yeah.
people in the Philippines who've died from not having enough money in hospitals is atrocious and so sad. No, this is fact.
Yeah, Filipinos or
And
expat.
this is the fact that a lot of people forget to realize. Doesn't matter what country you're in. Alexander Don Mike, is it? Yeah, Don Michael says the hospital's job is to get your money. No, hospitals are
Always, no matter what country.
no matter what, they're there to get your money. The ones that don't get money from you, they're getting the money from somebody else, aka insurance and all of that kind of deal.
Yeah,
But they're still getting their money.
Cuckoo, that's an AI. You AI'd that information. We've been in to talk with the doctors, so that is not the cost. He's saying it's 425 for the entire procedure, hospital fees, and everything. It is not. You have to pay separately for the specialist, and being I have lupus and this API and pulmonary issues and not able to breathe because my heart's causing that. It's a whole nother level. I may require the ICU before and after, and it could be more than one stint. So that's way off. And so that is not, I mean, we wish that's what that is because we've already got 300,000 or close to it, give or take, or at least available between what we've got and everything. So if that was that simple, then, but it is not. So, because what you don't have included is the test for the angiogram. That's what I couldn't remember. Is
Well, that
80,000
alone
is
is
80,000 pesos. So how can that be right? I have to have an angiogram, which is a test. They can't put stents in without that. So 425, no. And if we flip into needing the open heart surgery and they think they can do it, and then I say yes, being crazy, okay, as a possible last result, then that price goes to 6 million. And right now, Mike just did this. Mike just had the testing, the hospitalization for
Our Philippine journey.
1 or 2 stents. Yeah, he was just on our live stream. Didn't he say that went to 1.2 million or what was his
Yes.
amount? So you're wrong. So this
Well,
is
that's
an
what I
AI
said.
amount. I mean,
Don't trust
it's-
AI. Don't trust Google. They only give you a fraction of the story.
Yeah.
That's why I always tell
So
everybody:
that
don't
is
trust
not with
Google.
the
Don't trust
fees. So
AI.
I thought I'd let you know is that if you go and sit down with them and our Philippine journey, Mike just discussed that on our live. I mean, I thought too, because they're like, okay, we can do a package for 525,000 pesos with no complication, no doctors, no ICU stay. That is not everything. What that shows is that they don't include everything like in America, down to the aspirin, down to the bandages. It's like that here too, and they're not correct on the quote. So I'm sure of that. I thought they were crazy on the 7 million for open heart surgery, and the doctor says no, it will definitely cost you 7 million. So yeah, my girlfriend is housing one of Carrie's homeless. Okay, and an Indonesia girl and her cat. Gotcha. Yeah. Look, a public hospital would concern me. You're right. You need to check in any hospital and ask around. I tell you what, like I said, me and George had a small joke the other day, and I said, you know what? I'm getting desperate. I said, let me take a look at that public hospital because there was one that said they could do stuff with the heart and everything, and it's the new one they just built during the pandemic, right? And I'm looking at it, and George says, "Oh, pull up a video." I said, "Well, look at that." I said, "Looks like it looks okay." We pull up the video, and they're going through the building, and I was like, "Looks like they're missing some windows." And George goes, "No, the windows are open." I said, "What the hell?" I said, "What do you mean the windows are open?" I said, "They
There's no
got no
AC.
AC. It was too much." I
There's no
said,
AC.
"Oh." Yeah, I said the white girl, you just lost that white girl right out the door. I'll stay at home and get my own prescription of Jack Daniels donuts and pizza and ride this out before I get it. We laughed so hard. It was funny the first time. We had mentioned this a week ago, but I was like, George, the windows are open. And he just kept laughing. I would laugh. He would laugh. And we just kept going back and forth. And I was like, George, the windows are open. And I couldn't get past it. It's like the time when I was in the Middle East and they brought me pigeon to the table to eat. You should have seen my face. That's not chicken, it's pigeon. I'm like, okay. I hadn't had pigeon. It was, a big surprise, surprise. But here's the thing. First off, it took them 2 hours to bring this food. I was starving by then. So I was really cranky. They brought the bird to me and they left his eyes on and his head, everything. His eyes were just burnt black, everything. His hair singed. They didn't do nothing to them. It's like they just threw him in the oven. His eyeballs were burnt. I said, oh, hell no. I said, his eyes are burnt. I can't eat him. It was hilarious. I was like, look at him. He's staring at me and his eyes are burnt out. They're black. And I said, no way. And so, yeah, you just got to adjust somehow, some way.
So it's like pigeon pie.
It's like seeing that window open. I was like, the windows are open. I was like, that can't be right. And George's like, that's a nice hospital. I said, yeah, it's a pretty nice hospital. I said, I think I could, wait a minute, the windows are open. I said, oh, no, never mind.
Yeah. Now, Luca says this is again important for those of you who have PhilHealth. Luca says, George, how does it work with bill payments between PhilHealth and private hospital? Do they auto deduct the PhilHealth coverage from the bill, or you need to pay out a pocket, then PhilHealth and reimburse? Now, again, this is part where there's a disconnect between what they say and whatever, because if you
I got some information.
because if you Google it, they say they reimburse you, but from experience, okay, it's automatically deducted.
Correct.
Now,
yeah, can I add to that real quick? They said that it's auto. Let me add to that. It will be auto deducted, and there is a PhilHealth even inside the private hospital. They will give us codes, and they will take 500,000 pesos off of my bill. Up to that amount, they said, with the codes, but they won't treat anything dealing with my lupus. There'll be no discounts.
right,
They'll only
that's a
handle
different
one
that's a different
emergency
thing. Yeah.
at a time. And yes, it comes off the bill. I pay the difference. And that was on their site.
Yeah.
So
Now, also another thing you guys have to watch out for is when you look it up at online, aka Google, AI, whatever. There is now AI and Google won't provide you the chart. There's a chart on what PhilHealth covers. It covers from 20 to 80%. And what I'm getting at is, depending on the procedure or what's involved, that it's a variable chart. So, but of course, I mean, I haven't looked it up, but I've seen other people commenting, "Oh, it's PhilHealth pays 80%, PhilHealth pays 20%." No, that's incorrect. It pays from between 20 to 80, depending on said procedure. Okay, so
yeah,
again, once you sign up on PhilHealth, you will be given a chart on what it covers and what it does not cover.
So if you're living here a long time as an expat, it's give or take about 350 a year. And usually it covers your spouse. And so we can sign up for that. We would use some of the funding, being we have this for medical and everything. And what they would do is after we do that, they if once we have the funds, because it's good for 1 year. Usually, I believe the holding time, Michael, if you're still in the room, is it 6 months? There's always a waiting period with Phil Health. You can't use it for a while. There's a waiting period of some sort. But in an emergency, it's instant. So with my medical records, which we're gathering, and we show them what's going on, then they will, with an admittance, they will take that, like, like, okay, she's ready for this test. She's got to get the swelling down. We need the angiogram. She needs stents or open heart surgery. There's a lot going on. Then they will give codes towards those things, but they said they choose which one. So they said that they would choose such as it would be considered for the congestive heart failure, or it'll be for coronary. So they'll put codes in on what they're going to pay, but they said they won't, like I said, they won't pay for the lupus. They won't. So it's only a specific amount. So, and I believe, of course, the private rooms are on us and all of that. That's where things start to change. Yeah. And so, okay. So we would get all of that done. And of course, the insurance, the good news is it would be good for the rest of the year, because if it wasn't for something so big, like we considered keeping it over the last few years, but the co-pays at that point wasn't worth the 350 because we were only paying $20 to see a regular physician. I had only been seeing regular physician, and that's how I've been keeping my basic medicine that I had in the US. So it wasn't like I was going to a bunch of specialists, didn't need to go in. I told George I was just going to roll out to the day I died with bad knees, bad back, and my other medical conditions. And it's just like, yeah, I'm good with that. So there is something, and that just started, by the way, some of this emergency admission or how much they're paying on. I'm not sure if that's always been new, but they said as far as what they're covering did change in 2025. So there's been some new stuff they've added. So, hey, some of it being paid is better than none, because my recovery is going to be costly too. So the medicines already, the cost is doubled on my medicines as far as what I'm paying every month. And so probably the amount of money that we save and everything probably just reinvested back into healing and stuff. So yeah, where were we at? Hey, Michael, what is going on?
Yeah, and for those of you wondering what pigeons taste like, they taste like chicken.
I wouldn't know. I didn't eat them. And that was too much. That was, yeah, I've been to a lot of different places. And Cozumel and Belize was on a cruise with my sister, one of my sisters. So I've got brothers too, quite a few of those. Yeah, when my mom was confined to the hospital, we had to buy her meds. Yeah, because the cost. Yeah, and that's another thing. I didn't even think to ask. Was Watson's considered their pharmacy in there, or do they have one for the hospital, you think, in AUF, or
No. That's just the.
It's just in there, so they do have one.
No,
like other
Watson's
hospitals.
has a pharmacy inside AU, and they have a Watson's outside of AU.
Right, but is there a AUF pharmacy?
No.
That is what they would consider. That's where they're getting their stuff from.
Right. Like a lot of hospitals, big name hospitals, they have their own pharmacy, but it's not their own pharmacy. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this is a fact again. It's sad that you get charged more as a foreigner. No, that's Victoria said. No. The thing is, yes.
Hi, Laura. Good morning.
They do. What's that word we used to? We like using. Like all that. You get skin taxed, and that's the word we use here in this channel. Yes, skin tax is a thing when it comes to now. It's not a constant. What I'm saying is there's sometimes you don't get skin tax at all, but most of the times you do.
Yeah. Yeah, Lucka, good question. What did my doctors think when I came here? Because mine weren't life threatening, they weren't terminal like I'm terminal now. If I don't get these stents, I could have anywhere from a week to a year or so.
Well, any
I could
day.
get lucky. Yeah,
It's
I mean,
any
I
day.
could get lucky with all these new medicines, bring down some inflammation. It's not gonna fix the damage in my heart situation. So now it's a matter of a waiting game. When I left the United States, I had some neurological issues that, and issues with muscles and, sciatic nerve issues. I have a spider bite that has some neurological damage. There's some stuff going on up here, upstairs somewhere. And so these were not life threatening. These weren't things, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, you are already sick and disabled and you found out you had lupus. Well, I'm telling you what the other problems are, right? That they weren't life threatening. It wouldn't have been anything we couldn't have afforded. I didn't know. I was newly diagnosed literally 6 months before we left. I didn't see where a lot of people were dying from lupus. Although I am now seeing now, I mean, you can read about lupus, but it's not too often you're going to read that people, need open heart surgery from it because it's a percentage of people that need this. I happen to get hit by it
Okay.
because I have multiple things now. Like the APS by itself doesn't always do what it's doing. So me testing for it and how they would explain, like I said, I'm not a medical physician that would have known that with lupus and with that and APS that it could have clogged my heart. So I was told that, and they just said, "Hey, you have APS, blah blah blah." While I'm there, and they're like, "All right, just give me the blood thinner." So I never stopped to take the time. It's in my chart. Why would I even, until they're examining it now, even think about that? So it's kind of like when you're putting those medical pieces together. So the answer is, when I left, no, there was nothing. And yes, we said have the exam, and we had an exam before we left. So there was no reason. I actually I seen a neurologist, and I had a what do they call that? Like a chiropractor. Like every now and then on my knees, I would get the bandages. They talked about I needed knee surgery. So I was seeing different specialists, but mostly the neurologist and the regular physician. There was no reason I shouldn't have went. Little chunky at the time when I left. I wasn't exactly skin and bones, so but that was no reason either. So
Right. Now, this is an analogy. For those of
yeah,
you
it's a good question.
who don't understand how lupus works. A good analogy of lupus is for those who don't understand the the disease. It's a disease. There's no cure. Um, think of old age. Old age is a disease because there's no cure. And here's a medical fact: nobody dies of old age. Now, for those of you like, what are you talking about? Everybody dies of. No, they don't. They die of complications of old age, aka,
Usually heart conditions.
correct. Your parts of your body are starting
cancer.
to die off, and that's why you're dying, not because of old age. Same thing with lupus. What I'm saying is, you don't know when you're going to die of old age, and same thing with lupus. You don't know when you're going to die of lupus. You can't say because you have
A
lupus.
lot of
Here's
people don't. Some
right
people
again.
live to 100 as an old
Right.
person.
For
with nothing
example,
going on.
Selena Gomez. Okay, Selena Gomez is diagnosed lupus. The reason why
There's a couple celebrities.
yeah, there's a lot of them, but I'm just using Selena because
Because
she's
she had kidney
she's very
replacement.
common. She's the most prominent one right now. That's what I'm saying is like that, like Heidi says, she had kidney replacements,
And more than
yada
likely,
yada.
it was the
Right,
lupus.
but
But I
we
don't have any kidney issues.
correct.
So.
Same thing with old age. You don't know when these organs are gonna give out. Same thing with lupus. You don't
Well,
know when
and now we
your
have the
body's going to give out due to lupus.
so now we
Right.
have the APS. It's called asyphilitid. I can't pronounce. I don't even have it written down. If you look up APS, it's asyphilicid lipid. It's called sticky blood. We don't know if that's causing it by itself. He said, he goes, when this test comes in, it's telling me that you have it and that you're testing positive. And then 3 months later, I got to test positive again. Now, I don't think they'll wait if we are ready to go and they'll have an ideal, but we don't know if that's causing it because when that test comes in, kind of like my uh, output cardiac output. My CO is super low right now. I mean, it's practically nothing running through my heart right now. So they'll give a number of how bad I'm inflamed with that right now. In other words, there's a number of where that is. If it's I think it's a higher number would indicate that's probably what's causing my heart issue. How would I have known? It's it could be that alone and have nothing to do with the lupus. Once these new tests come in, it's going to say a lot. So, you know, I told George, I said, I hate to say it. I said, I hope I have one of them. What do you mean nothing? So you're telling me the pizza did me in and the Jack Daniels? Okay, then I got to accept that. But they think the steroids was a better bonus for me to have kept taking them. I thought it was what was causing the main damage, and he said no. It probably has kept your lupus in a form of remission over the years, on and off, and they're trying to find out. This is going to be like a real mystery when this all comes together, or not a mystery anymore. So in other words, it may not even be the lupus. It could be the APS. That would clog my, yeah. But now that they're narrowed, they have to open it up. And it may not be one. There may be several arteries. So that's where we have to find out. So, yep. So, yeah. Yes, and that is the hospital's deal, is to nab that money. We will be signing up. I'm not going to do it right this minute, because if this test comes back and things aren't even looking any better, we have to take one step at a time. We'll need it. It's not going to pay for all these small tests. It's not going to pay for the one needed. It'll pay when they're ready to enter me as an emergency. But till we get more tests and get this all done, then no. So we're not going to sign up right this second. No. We're going to sign up literally. We can show up at the hospital and set that up in one day and get it going. And then they could literally put me in the hospital within the day. So that's kind of how it works. So we did discuss it. We just haven't. We're just not going to pull the trigger because it's a mess. Because if we still don't have the payment to enter for the whole package of, whatever, then there's no reason to pay $1,800 just to say you got 3 stents that are needed, and then we don't have it to redo the dye. It's not a simple test. They cut a hole in my wrist. They run the camera. It's not always the simplest procedure, and they run dye. If they keep doing that, they could kill the rest of my heart, give or take. Mike was explaining that. So I can't keep going through the test, nor can we afford it. So it's kind of like a one-time shot. We have to do it all in the same thing. You don't have the funds. That's why it's been like critical for us. And the second half of the day, like right now, getting anything after a certain time, well, it's still early, but yeah, things just get critical in the second half of my day. When you're having movement, you're up and down, you don't put your feet up, more fluid starts to fill up in my body. My chest feels compressed. By the time I go to bed, I feel like I'm about to have a heart attack. So I do real good daytime. By the evening, I just have a hard time with everything. So it's a round circle. And
Yeah, like I said, George, prominent Filipino actress Chris Aquino, and the daughter of the ex-president,
yeah,
Cory Aquino, has been battling lupus for several years now. She has got a lot of allergies, and she can't take painkillers or flu meds. No, no, no. But nobody knows Chris Aquino when it comes to other countries. That's why I didn't mention her. Yes, but no, she's actually aged considerably. Yeah,
didn't either.
because of said conditions. Yeah, it's really sad. Yeah.
I really pissed some people off that day. Waited an hour to eat. They were trying to impress me. I went there probably November, and I went in February after 9/11. So that's not very long, less than 6 months after 9/11. So it was kind of awkward, traveling. There was a lot of tension all the way around. And They were really trying to impress me. It was like, and then I just couldn't eat the food. I think I ate some bread and drank a bunch of tea, and it was like insulting to a lot of countries if you don't eat. A lot here too, if you don't eat their food. And he says you need to eat that, and I said I can't. He's staring at me, and his eyeballs are burned out. So he's just staring at me. I couldn't do it. No, I just ate bread, and then later I made him go get me bananas and chocolate. And that's what I ate before I went to bed. They had the little sorry store similar like they did here. They ran up the street, and that's when you could buy everything. Pack of cigarettes for $1. They brought a whole box of chocolate for $1 US. It was kind of crazy, but yeah, been a while though. So yeah, black eyes. Yeah, to the Laura says you could go to the windowless hospital and find a pigeon. Yeah, right.
Right?
Well, I don't know. I've got some footage. Sometimes I don't put it in, but I think I did say in one of our outings, the last couple of videos we had, we ended up at the pet store, and I said something about, yeah, why don't we just buy some pigeons and we could just talk to the expats down on Walking Street and other areas and do our messages through that way or something, Pigeon Express or something. Yeah, and then I was ticked off. It was, yeah. So I was trying not to like be really out of control, but I guess I was just being bitchy. And it was, people don't realize when you enter other countries the type of stress there kind of is and the oddness and awkwardness. And we were there for like 10
Well,
days and I didn't know much of their customs. I wasn't
that's
prepped.
on him because he should know what you're capable of eating and incapable of eating.
Right. So they did all the
I
ordering. Should have
mean,
known I wasn't going to eat a bird
I'm not gonna take you to a place here and where you can like
where
eat
I won't.
roving crickets or like tarantulas. Of course not.
Well, that or I don't like the pusit or whatever.
Right.
It's too
So that's
much.
what
You
I'm saying. I
wouldn't.
would ask ahead of time, like, hey, by the way, are you interested right around the corner? There's some, tarantulas
And
that
that's pretty much what happened.
Yeah,
Is
they should had the decency to ask, like, hey, are you capable of eating this? Yeah.
yeah. I
So
don't know if you're referring to the snoring as did I say something or is it my
it's the
breathe?
machine.
It's
It's the
the
machine.
oxygen machine you're
It's the
probably hearing.
machine. Yeah.
You could hear that in the last live. No, and they do. Of course they do. Yep. Yep, most definitely. It's
Well, they
what.
advise it. Not that anybody listens.
Yeah, I'll tell you that right now. They're advised about scams from women. They still come here and give money away, and they warn about everything. But it is one of the high things, and I would hope that people will learn because we could have hit all this, and then we realized we couldn't do it without you guys. Plus, we wanted you guys to know about it. I mean, I could keep the oxygen off the whole time and just things got worse and everything. I mean, I've got to be on this now all day and I'm like, yeah. So lips started turning blue at that point and different things. So but my whole deal is we would hope people would see like Mark Thornton and me and Moonshine Shoulders that actually passed away. There's a lot of guys dying of heart issues over here because it gets to be one of the more expensive, complicated things. But I'm 54 years old, and even though I'm overweight, not one specialist said, well, the lupus doctor finally said something. He said that he goes with you being big and everything. He said that, it does make more of a complication as far as, like hurting more because I'm carrying more weight. And I was like, yeah, I agree with you on all that. But like the other ones haven't really, gone into anything. But it adds to the complications, of course.
Yeah,
But
but the weight is also mainly because of your medication.
there's a good chance I'm holding at least 125 pounds or more in inflammation and water or more. So, yeah, there's just no way. Pizza and Jack Daniels is the remedy, right? Yeah. Thank you, Cindy. Hey, Cindy, and Victoria. What is going on? Saying hi to each other. Cindy is in America right now. And of course, Victoria is in Australia. Pigeon Express. Yeah. Why wait seems to be the right thing to do, just thinking from the poor man's side. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess so. That goes for a lot of people, most definitely. So, I mean, honestly, this is where me and George thinking come together. We can't do anything, anyways. I can't fly because I'm too weak and too sick. Forget about the doctor say no, that's not even close to our problem. And if we can't afford it, we can afford most of this medical right now. In other words, a lot of Filipinos and expats won't even buy the medicines I'm on right now. We're up to $200 or $300 in medicines when we pay $100 maybe. So they won't even buy the medicines or take care. Like I take the vitamins. I've been watching salt, sugar, reducing water. They won't even take those. They just keep going until they drop. So it's the we as the poor people are waiting, and some don't do anything at all. So I count my blessings that I have AC and can afford to keep that on, because definitely the humidity and being out there is just harsh right now on my condition. And yeah, there's a level of being poor. We're at that weird point where, we're able to keep most. If I wasn't on this medicine at all, I wouldn't be alive right now. My respiratory issues are severe, and that's what they think is I'm just going to stop breathing, and because my heart's barely pumping. Or so that's where we're at, but at least we can afford the medicines that I'm on. Like right now, I'm not coughing that much because I'm taking that medicine. I've got breathing treatments now. So all these things, but a lot of Filipinos cannot afford this. So yeah. Let's see. Do you have the portable you need for leaving the house? I do not. We are discussing using medical funds for that. So no, I do not. What I do have in case of a full emergency is there's cans of oxygen. They're not the greatest, but it still can be used for, the ones that have it in a can that are portable, but we don't have the machine. So does it get hard? Yes, because when I'm not on the oxygen, I feel that being on it all the time, since he said go full time, has made it hard for me to get around. Um, so yeah, not yet. We have not invested in this yet. So because really I haven't been leaving the house, but yeah, if the appointments are coming up, yeah. So, yeah, a carnivore diet would be out of the question at this point. And I did attempt that for inflammation. I've just in the past 2 years I've attempted. It was a full on carnivore for a few months, and that would not be good for me right now. So yeah. I know they say it is. I'm going to avoid it because I was on it and I did not feel better. I felt worse. So that's when I was doing all the meats and
No,
everything,
I'm
the
aware.
eggs
I'm aware.
and the butter, and I cut out on sugar, carbs, and everything. And it just felt like my heart was stopping even quicker. And it could be that I was already having those issues. I mean, I'm sure it is. I asked him, how long has this been going on? It's not instant. So, all right. So, all right, guys, we wanted to cover this, and we're going to wrap this up and say our goodbyes. George, say goodbye.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you all. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you so much, Cindy G. We have Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs and Sultan of SWAT.
Cindy and Victoria.
Thank you so much, Victoria and
Shout
Laka.
out to Sarah, Laura. Hey, Raymond. Thank you.
Ronald. Appreciate you so much.
Be Free is in the house today. Good to see you back. Lucka. Got some regulars in here. Ronald, most definitely. Our guy is in there. Alex. Michael was in the house. Check out Michael Onstad on Facebook. He's listed on the inside. For those rich expats, because that's not us. True story,
Thanks
right?
so much, guys. I appreciate
It
you
is a
all.
real story. All
Thank
right,
you for
guys.
being here for us.
We'll
Love
see
you all.
you guys in a